Welcome everyone for our first Stack Live of 2025. A slight change of format here to kick off the year. We'll be joining both products, so both the takeoff and estimate and the build and operate uh, product product here, and both under the same theme. We want to share the top stack hacks to jumpstart your year. So hit the ground running in 2025. So both for takeoff and estimates and build and operate. Housekeeping, as usual, participants will be in listen-only mode during the discussion. You will please find the Q&A button to submit your questions. We will make sure we answer those at the end of the webinar. And all participants who have registered will receive a recording via email. For our subject matter expert today, for takeoff and estimate, we have our own charismatic Crystal Elias with us. She's been with Stack since 2018, acting as a senior trainer for takeoff and estimate. And yours truly, my name is Bruno Kidza. I've been with Stack for it's almost 2 years. Been working in the construction industry, doing training in IT for the last almost 5 years, and been a trainer basically all my professional life. Crystal, please go ahead and present your agenda for today for takeoff and estimate.
Thank you, Bruno. I just want to say that I'm really happy to be here today, and I really have very exciting content to share with you. So for today's agenda, I do have some tips and tricks on how to keep your projects organized. I also want to talk about aerial imagery, the navigation through your drawings. I have a lot of tips about that and how you can be more efficient with your measurements. And we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and how you can use it to speed up your process. So I'm going to jump right into my screen. And I'm here on my Stack account. The first thing I want to talk about is how you guys are going to be able to organize your projects. So notice that one of the number one options that you can organize your projects is by the status. Recently, we have allowed you to customize your own status. This will allow you to match your current process that you have with your team or allow you to organize the projects in any grouping that you guys would like. This stack offers you originally 13 statuses by default. Feel free to customize them if you need to. To customize them, you will go into your account settings in the top right corner, and we're going to go into your company settings on the left side. You will scroll down until you find your project settings, and in here you're going to click on this little pencil. Feel free to add any statuses that you need to. You're going to be able to change the order by clicking and holding, change the color by using your dropped or typing the color in. Give it a name and assign a status. A workflow status, it is not required. You can leave it as undecided, but we do require you to have at least one status for each workflow status. Now, a few recommendations on how I would suggest to use the statuses. The first one is that if I want to make a project urgent, I created one. So anytime I have a project that needs urgent or an attention, I will be able to assign that status. Another question I get a lot is that my list is very long and I don't want to delete that project because I might need to make it as a reference, but I'm working on a project that is 10 projects down my list. Well, I created a status called archive. That way, any status that I assign to that, I will be able to filter it later. Another recommendation is using a status to categorize your projects by a type. So if I have residential or commercial jobs and I want to keep those together, you can also do that. Or if you have different traits that you would like to do it, to categorize it by. Now, I'm going to show you how this is going to work. Now, when I'm going to my projects, I will be able to go into status and use my filter options. So if I click on this urgent project, it will show me all the projects categorized by that. Now, here's the thing. I did use numbers. Why did I use numbers? Is because I will be able to display my projects alphabetically, alphanumeric. So if I mark this project urgent and this one archive, and I organize, I set them in order. Notice that this one will be first and that one will be the second one. So here's another example. If I mark this one urgent and then I click on the status, it organizes them. So this is how you're going to be able to change the order. The other thing is that if I don't want to see my projects archive, I click on select old and then I remove that one. So that way, those archive projects are not longer bothering me. I still have them because one of the beautiful things about using Stack is that we provide cloud storage. So it's not taking space on your computer, and you don't have to lose your data. We all know how important that data can be later on, to either for analytical purposes to see how well a company does, or to reference a prior job to get some type of rating or a labor rate or statistics. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I want you to make sure you know, is that you can also do the same thing with assign to. You will be able to assign this project to a team or to yourself and be able to filter those projects. That way you're only looking at projects that matters to you. Lastly, since we're here, I don't know if you knew, but if you want to keep using your status, so if you like our default statuses and you like to track the process of your project, but you also would like to be able to organize your projects by a tray, make sure you use the notes because those are going to be searchable. So if I want to see all my residential jobs and I have taken the time to add a note to my project saying residential and clicking on save, and now I want to see all my residential jobs on here. Now I'm going to be able to search residential. There you go. And now I can see all my residential jobs and their current status process. Submit any questions that you have in regards to this. I'm going to move to the next topic I got for you, which is going to be your navigating to your plans. So once I'm inside a project, once I'm inside a project, a lot of the times what happens is that this might be a project that I used a long time ago. I don't remember the pages that I use. I don't have time to scroll through all these pages and find out where I made those measurements. Here on the left side, you're going to have 3 little dots that will allow you to filter pages with only takeoff and annotations. So keep this in mind, because if you are reading the specifications and details, make sure you add some type of notation. It could be a cloud, it could be a highlight, because we're also going to display those drawings. So if you were using those during your estimating process, make sure you add them so later on you can filter through them. So really quickly, now I can focus on those pages where I made my measurements. Um, in the same concept, now moving to my takeoff. So if I need to go and see specifically where, how many doors I have in a specific floor or in a specific page, you're going to be able to click on group by and group by default by plan name. You may have other options in here if you use labels. Your labels are also going to be displayed. But notice now that not only I'm able to group, so I know which page those measurements were made, but I also can hover over it and click on open, and it will take me strictly to that page where I made that measurement. The next thing I have in here for you guys is going to be your AI takeoff. So this is an add-on feature, which means that it will have to, it will cause an additional cost, but this is saving my customers a lot of time. Take in consideration, this is an assistant, okay? So it's not going to do the SMS for you, but it's definitely going to assist you to speed up your process. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to scroll to one of my floor plans because this AI works for in floor plans. I'm going to click on this one. This is my second floor. Noticing here, I'm opening a commercial job. Um, I would say the level of complexity of this is between a 5.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my scale. So I'm going to go in here, standard scale, 3/32. Don't forget to double check your scale. But the next thing I'm going to do is I want to start my clock, because I want to show you that I wouldn't be able to do all of these measurements that my AI assist can give me in the amount of time that this is going to take. So I'm going to click on this button again. It's here on the right hand. You have your AI assist button. This is going to take about less than 5 minutes. It depends on the complexity of the job, okay? Basically, what it's going to do is going to scan this page and this page only. So if you have multiple pages, you will need to go to each individual page, set your scale, and run your AI. This is going to give you doors. It will be able to identify and count the number of single doors and double doors that you have. It will give you the area of your rooms, so the square footage. It will tell you how many windows there are in this floor plan, and it will measure your walls. But even better, it will be able to identify exterior or perimeter wall versus interior walls, okay? The status of this up here in the top right corner is going to tell you that it's running. Take in consideration that you do not have to wait for it to finish. You can actually go to other plans. So we just got a result, guys, and that only took 1 minute and 25 seconds. I cannot do all of these measurements that the AI have provided for me in 1 minute and 25. Bruno told you I have been with the company since 2018. I know all the shortcuts, I know all the hot keys, and I cannot do that in that amount of time. So, okay, Crystal, this have measured my floor plan, but what good does it do to me that is telling me that I have 32 linear feet when I need those to be wall type A, wall type B, right? Well, in our previous Stack Live, I show you that you can use your takeoff library. So, or you can create a new takeoff, okay? But I myself have my own library set up with all the different wall types that I do. So I'm going to go into my takeoff library and I'm going to go ahead and select my wall. So this is already a takeoff with assemblies and characteristics that I have for my wall. So I'm gonna click on the plus sign to add it to my project. Now, I'm going to come here and I'm going to hide all my measurements and I'm going to focus on my exterior walls. So here's my exterior walls. I know all my exterior walls needs to be a 12 feet wall, 5'8", 5'8", and with 16 studs on center. So it already have all my characteristics. I have my assemblies and my input. Here is the measurement that the AI did for me. I'm going to click on these three little dots. I'm going to click on select. And now I'm going to move to the right hand, click on edit, and I'm going to click on change takeoff to assign those measurements to that takeoff. That way I'm able to get the list of my material. And just like that, I have reassigned those measurements and now I can go into my estimate and get the quantities of my materials. And if you have pricing already stored, it will show you your pricing as well. And there you go. Now, what happens if not all the walls need to be that specific? Maybe it has some type A, some type B. Well, let's go back to our floor plan and I'm going to show you how you can address that. So I'm going to turn this different wall type. I'm going to hide this one and we're going to work on our interior walls. So grab a pen, grab a paper, because the first hotkey I'm going to show you today is the letter M. This is going to allow you to multi-select multiple measurements. So I know in this section right here, all these walls are going to be that type of wall. I'm going to press one time the letter M, click one time, go diagonally, click one time, and I'm selecting all of those walls. The hotkey for my change takeoff is the letter Q. So now I can easily go and assign those walls to 10 feet wall. I click on change and I change those. Well, what happens if I need to change a group, but then there's some individual ones in here? Okay, not a problem. I'm going to click on the escape key. Here's another hotkey, your second hotkey of the third hotkey of the day. You're going to unselect your measurements and then you're going to click on the ones that you need to, hold the shift key and select the other walls. Let me get a little bit closer. And that's how you can select the specific walls that you need. Again, letter Q, and then I can go ahead and reassign them uh, multiple walls at the time. Perfect. The other thing is that you might need to fix some of the measurements. So if we turn this area measurement, and let's say something is missing like this, I will be able to make sure this new feature that was released a couple months ago is on. This is your toggle, and you turn it on and off with the letter S on your keyboard. What this is going to do is that if I'm trying to fix something, notice how it snaps to that corner. That way, it eases the job for me, and I can make sure everything's getting covered. All right, moving on, I also want to show you that this also works on residential jobs. So I believe I have a page in here with a residential drawing. And I'm going to I'm going to set my scale and we'll run the AI really quick. And we'll do only the walls and the rooms. So now that I'm only selecting two, now that I'm working on a simple plan, you can see how faster this can be. So in here, the other way you can reassign measurements, right? Because In this case, I have to put carpet and tile on this house. I'm going to go again to my library. I'm going to go into my stack library, and I'm looking for my tile. We're going to do LVT. I'm going to add that to my project. And now I'm going to click on this arrow, like if I was going to start measuring. So here's another key, hotkey. So by default, the system will allow me to do any measurements. But if I press the letter T, I can toggle between a square, or I can toggle into this new AI. Um, it's called the AI draw mode. What does this mean? It means is that I already have a measurement that my floor plan AI assist did for me, but it was assigned to just a general measurement, and I needed to be LVT. So pressing the letter T will activate my AI draw assist. And now when I hover over this area, I can click on it and immediately assign those rooms to my LVT measurement. So this is how you can speed up your process. Taking into consideration the AI assist is an assistant. It's not going to do the takeoff for you. It is not 100% accurate. You still want to go in and double check that it captures everything that you need, but it definitely speeds up your process for you. And then if I don't need anything else, let's say I don't need the rest of this, just come here to the left side and click on delete and get rid of it. Alrighty, guys. Please send out your questions. Me and Bruno are going to be answering those questions at the end of the day. So if you have any questions about this, go ahead and submit it. I'm going to move to the next topic I have for you today, which is going to be the aerial retrieval. So we're going to go into projects, and I have an aerial project in here. When you create a project, this is also another add-on. The aerial retrieval, what it's going to do, you're going to be able to type a location on your project, and you're going to have this button right here. I don't have that feature. Like I say, it's an add-on, so I don't have it on my account. But I'm going to show you that when you click on this button, it will give you the option to select an structure or a site area. This structure, I recommend it if you do for roofers. And the site area, I would recommend if you do landscaping, if you do asphalt, if you do snow removal, and if you do paving or concrete. For my US customers, this is going to give you the property limits of that location. And for my Canadian customers, this is going to give you at least a radius of 50 meters, okay? For my roofers, I have great news for you. Will automatically measure the roof for you as long as the data is available. What is this going to give you? It's going to give you about 4 images, one from top to bottom of the building, and it's going to be a scale, right? So, and if you have it, if it's roof, it will automatically measure your roof, either flat or pitch area. Again, this is if the data is available. It is 60% accurate, so you still want to double check your measurements and do your homework. And then it also is going to give you images, side images, so you can see what the building looks on north face, south, west, and east, okay? Usually you're gonna get about 5, but at least a minimum of 4 pictures, okay? And like I said, the one from the top to bottom, it will be automatically scaled. So if you do pavers, if you do landscaping, if you do asphalt, snow removal, this is a great way for you to be able to measure, issue a quote without having to drive to the site. When you run it, up here in the top right corner, it will in this little belt, it will tell you the status just like in the AI or just like if you were to print your pages, all of that information and the status will be here, okay? So if there's any problems or why it couldn't be retrievable because the information could not be available, it will be there, okay? Um, the other thing that you can use this is that you may want to get familiar with the the area. So you get a set of drawings and you will be able to overlap your drawings to the actual and current status of that property. So I'm going to show you how you can get this, okay? So this is actually using, and this feature is available for everyone, for all the subscriber, is the overlay feature, okay? So let me go to this project and show you how you're going to get this. So once you get your areas, right, you're going to get a folder that says aerial images. That's where your images will be located. Like I said, those will be already scaled for you. I actually have two. I have an example of a project if the building was not there, right? So now you can find yourself familiar with how do you get to the site? How is my equipment going to get there? How easy is it accessible for me to deliver the material there? Do I have a space where I can leave my material there? The other thing that you can use is if you're a landscaper, you can actually see what trees you might need to remove before you do your work. Um, and if it's a building that is already there, like I mentioned, you're going to be able to get your roof data, and then you're going to be able to do other measurements as well. So how do I overlay a current drawing? So if you have drawings and you want to be able to compare it with the actual area image, you're going to go here in the top right corner, click on your overlay, and then you're going to be able to search or scroll down and look for the drawing you would like to use. This is going to make the image in color red, and then you're going to be able to see your drawing. Zoom out, click and hold, and in this little corner, you can click and shrink your image until you get it in the size that you need. To move it, you have to press and hold the control key, and then you're going to be able to move it up, down, left, or right. Just like that. I think I'm pretty good. Maybe go a little bit smaller. Now I cannot see the color blue very well, so we're going to go up here in the top right corner, click on my layers, and I'm going to change that color in black. And now that's going to give me a better visual. The other thing you can do is that you can click on this little pencil and it's going to highlight the drawing even better. So this is my tips, my tricks, creative ways that you can use our current features and ways that you can speed up your process. Please send all your questions. And now I'm going to hand it over to Bruno. That's going to
Thank
talk
you.
about build and operate.
Thank you, Crystal. Very informative. Loved it. So,
Thank you guys.
so for build and operate. So once you've win the job, you get into build and operate. You will upload your plans. You can compare, mark them up. We have a few features here that can be very interesting. So what I want to cover with you is how to manage issues and inspections within build and operate. There's a few tips and tricks regarding layers that can be very interesting. And we've launched a new feature just before Christmas break, regarding workflows, the attach files feature that is going to make workflows very powerful. So let me share my screen here real quick. So we're looking at the Windows app for our first topic, issues and inspection. Um, I would highly recommend, or it can be super useful to actually use your phone. It's the exact same app, very similar features, but the whole idea of taking pictures, taking quick notes when you're walking a site and making an observation, just make it more convenient. So what I want to cover with you here real quick, we have a very light project with a few drawings, few shop drawings here. If we look at the top of the screen here, we have a list for both issues and photos. Photos would be the photos that I add to a plan. Um, very useful if we're looking to track the progress of a work site, but they may lack of context a bit. So if I use my issues, I have a few issues here that are listed. I'm looking at all my project issues, regardless of where they were pinned on the plan. So I have a complete overview here, and I'll actually just create a new issue. It doesn't have to be related to a plan. I'm going to give you an example here. I'm going to create a new issue. We have categories based on role. I can completely edit those categories here to keep and have those that are relevant to my trade, to my workflows, to the use that I have of this tool. And the first example might be just here, the inspection. Very straightforward, but again, super powerful. So issues, the issue module in build and operate boils down to a form that I fill in. The only mandatory field would be my category. Here it's inspection, and I'll need a description. So I'm going to keep it to the simplest example here. I might want to add a bit of context, who was present. I'm going to have I'll go back to my fields here. I can add a list. We'll look into this later with a second example. I can add location. If I have multiple buildings, we're doing different inspections based on types. Location, the prime example would be, let's say we're building condos and we have multiple apartments. I want to be able to filter by door number, because that's going to be useful at the end of a project. So in location, I have two quick examples here. I could have listed all my units, or could be building A, building B, if I want to separate those. So let's say this is a very standard site survey at the beginning of a job. So I'm going to keep it empty. We can configure up to 3 custom fields. This is in the project settings. So I just pulled an example here. This is not mandatory, and I entered actually the text I'm seeing here. So back to our example, I'm doing a site survey. The most important part of it will be adding photos. And that's where using my phone makes it super easy. I'll have a new inspection created, and I can go ahead and take a photo of everything that I'm seeing that might be relevant at this point. So I could take new photo, or maybe in this case, I'll just select a few photos from the libraries. I have a bunch of photos of my face. I'll skip those. And let's say this one here, let's add another. Here, and I can close it. issues when we're not talking about inspection, we would actually look at it as a task that needs to be assigned to someone. Here, I'm the one creating the inspection, and that's what build and operate is going to show me in my report. So I don't need to assign it to anyone, but as a project manager, I might want to say, to make sure that my super is walking the site. So I could assign it to my super and say, go walk the site here, fill in a site survey, add photos, you know the drill, and I could assign it to as a task. But here, let's say I'm out in the field already, and I'm just documenting my site survey. Priority, relevant for an issue, for issue management, for deficiencies, not really for an inspection. Same with a due date. Depending on the type of inspection that I'm documenting here, I might have a checklist that I can add to my inspection here as a file. So it could either be an Excel spreadsheet with or a PDF form that I need to fill in. So I can either have a file already on my device, or I can already have it here and basically just download it, fill it in, re-upload it here. And while build and operate usually works solely with PDF and photos in terms of file types, I can add up to, it's a bit more than 40 file types here. So DWG, if we're talking about design format, all the Microsoft Suite file types are supported. Multiple images types are all supported here. So I could basically just add it here. I have an Excel spreadsheet right here that I can attach and pretend it's a checklist for an inspection. I'm going to close it here. I could add some comment. When we're thinking about inspection, might not be as relevant, but if we think about issues management during the process of getting that issue resolved and fully documented, we might need to add some comments. And again, thinking about issues, cost impact, schedule impact can be documented right here. So thinking about my inspection here, I basically just created it, added the description, added a bunch of photos that I took walking the site, and I can simply click create. I'll simply close it as it was completed. And now we can see that we're not seeing it anymore. That's why I have my filters up here. So if I open my filters, I see that by default, my status is I have 3 that are selected. If I want to include the closed entities, just have to toggle those in, click back, and let's say I want to generate a report of all the inspections that I've completed on this project. I'll select my categories here, filter only my inspections, and I have 2 examples here. I can select those and generate a PDF report. When generating a report, I can pull a detailed report that will basically print out all the fields that were entered that we saw earlier with the photos, or I can customize it a bit. If I click on custom, I can decide how I want them grouped by, the order, and I can toggle on or off most of the fields that are available on the form. So depending on what I want to show in terms of information. Whenever I click export, we'll have a little pop-up here. Stack is basically sending me a link to download the report that was generated. The whole idea of build and operate, there's an admin platform, there's the server, and there's the app in between, and they're all communicating together. So the report is generated on the server. So I'm basically just sending the request here of, this is the report that I want. I'm on the app here, so I can generate the report directly from my phone. I'll receive the link by email. I can either forward it or print it out based on what I need. So that's super powerful here. I'll exit that list here. Open a drawing. And let's say a mechanical plant here. I'll zoom in a bit and I'll find my issue markup tool here that will allow me to go through that same process, but with one extra step where I can select it and say, this is where I noticed an issue. So right here on the plan. And then we're back on the same process here where it's going to obviously be, let's say it's mechanical. Using the list here, we have a list that's provided by default, but that is completely editable with the proper permission level. So let's say this is a safety observation, because why not? I can add the location, same as I did. Here I'm going to describe what is the issue. I could obviously add a photo of the actual issue. Let me add one real quick. Do I have anything that's relevant? Not really. Here, I'm probably the one who noticed the issue, might not be the right person to fix it. This is where I'm going to assign it. For the sake of the example, I'm going to assign it to myself, just so I can go through the whole process. So I'll assign it to myself. I can add a priority. Let's say I want this done by same time next week. That would be fair enough. I could add a file if needed. Is there a cost impact, schedule impact? Can be that should be documented here. I'm going to click create. Now I'm receiving a notification that a new issue has been assigned to me, which will prompt me to go back to my list of issue here. One level too deep. I'm just going to clear filters here, and this would be the issue that I've just created. So as the recipient, the first step is going to be for me to accept the issue. So it's my way of saying, I saw it, I'm on it. So I'm going to click accept, and we're back to, and we're entering the status in progress. I'm working on it. We can see here at the bottom, summary of the statuses. So it's either open, the issue has been raised, it needs to be accepted. once the assignee accept the work or the task, it will become in progress. I'll do my thing, come back to it. So I do what I needed to do. I want to say it's completed. As a settings available in the project, I can make comments and photos mandatory when completing the issue. So if I want to make sure that all my issues are completed with and documented with a before and after, I can make those mandatory. So here, good practice would be to describe what was done and add a photo. This was the before. I can add a new photo and say this is the after. For example, I'm going to click done and done, and it's now completed pending validation. So in order to go full circle before it's closed, it's back to the person that opened it that will make sure that it was completed as it should, but also documented as it should. So if I click it again, I can either close it, job done, or retract it, send it back to the assignee saying, please add photos. It was half completed, whatever the case may be, can be sent back to the assignee for the job to be fully completed. If I send it back, there's obviously a comment that will be that we can add, or I can close it, done, completed successfully. It's now closed, and same principle with my filters. By default, all I'm seeing are the open issues. If I want to see our closed issue here, toggle those on again, click close, and I have my closed issue here. And again, same principle. I can select what I need and generate a report. I've encountered a lot of situations where those issues management are important simply in order to get paid. So good documentation of issues could make the difference between getting paid on time or useless delays that will affect cash flow. So those are the issues and inspection capabilities of Stack Build and Operate. Our second features or second half that I wanted to showcase today, we're going back to the basics of Build and Operate here. We're talking about layers. We usually will have a lot of users looking at the same plans, and that's part of the whole idea, is that we're looking at the right thing, the same thing all at once, so there's no disconnect or discrepancies between trades or roles within a project. I've put together a few examples here. If I open this here, so this is the layer features here, and I've already configured a few layers. I want to click edit because it's going to be easier for me to showcase how we can use those. But let's say that I'm the only person that can write or assign a markup and say, yes, that should be part of the as build. I'm going to make it public read, so I'm the only one who can write on that layer. I'll skip this one here and look at personal notes. Those are my personal notes. I basically mark up everything that I'm seeing, and we'll come back to it later to reorganize those, maybe reassign them to another layer. So this layer here should be private. I'm the only one who can see it. Let's say project notes. Anyone and everyone can both see and add notes. I'll reassign those when needed. But I can go one step further and create a layer per trade, and making sure that only the right person can see and write. So add markups on those layers. And that's where our group permission will come into play. So let's say we have a layer specifically for concrete work. I can open my group and then decide who can see. So let's say Dominic here is my concrete team lead. He's going to be allowed to write, and I'm going to say Miguel is let's in this case, he's my super, so we can also read and write. John and I won't be able to see or write those or add markups to that layer. So I'm removing a bit of noise on all my drawings. I'll do the exact same thing for our roofing team. So decide who's doing what. So let's say this is John and Miguel only who should read and write, so should see and add markups. So that would be another idea here. And Dominic will have no idea of what's going on that layer, because it's not real. In this case, it's not relevant for him. For all those layers, I made sure that I activated those with the exact same settings on all my drawings from this folder. So I'm in the architectural folder here. I wanted to create those layers with those settings here, make them available on all my drawings. So if I move from one drawing to the other, back here, if I move from one drawing to the other, we all have the same, I'll find the exact same layers with the same settings. So obviously this helped me organize better our markups, but it does a bit more, or a lot more, I should say. So if I come back here, so on the admin platform, I'll have the option to download as built. And what it's going to do is going to export all my drawings, including all the public markups. I might want to be a bit more specific on what I'm including as markups for my as-built. So what I can do here is I'll go one step back, and let's say I'll select just my architectural folder for that example and click download. I could include markups by type. So do I want to include all public markups, only my markups, or all the markups that were shared, or be even more specific and export by layers? So here, I'll find all the folder layers that I've created, and it becomes super easy for me to select the as-built, knowing exactly the markups that I've attached to that layer here. So here I can simply click download. And as for my issues report, I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Click download, and I'm going to receive a link to download the PDF by email. So it's really a link to download the PDF and not the PDF attached that I'm receiving. So we want to keep it as light as possible and as easy to transfer to someone else. With a download link, we make it super easy instead of attaching a PDF, and we can have multiple pages. It can get heavy to a point that it's difficult to transfer by email. So the link will help you bypass that if you need to share it. So this is what I wanted to share in terms of layers. So yes, organizing your markups, but also using those layers to export exactly what you need to see. So finally here, the last part that I wanted to share, and I need to switch here. I'm going to start sharing here. Great. So I'm back on the web portal. I'll still with build and operate. So we have a project list. We have our document management for my project here, stack. And using my workflows, I can see here, I've set up a shop drawing workflow. To me, that's a prime example of the attached file features and how powerful and efficient this can be. So usually, what I've heard most of the time, shop drawings, they are mostly managed via email, going back and forth, exchanges between subcontractors, GCs, professionals, and hopefully we get the information at one point. Obviously, if we're talking about emails, we will kind of be, we will find situations where we are a bit, the workflow is actually stuck because of someone being out of office. It's not as transparent. So if the information is stuck in an inbox, well, it cannot move forward. So if we centralize that information here, we can make it super easy to exchange. So let's say here I need a shop drawing for junction box. I'll have a title here. I might have my spec and my information here added. I'll add a discipline here so I can filter later on. We'll have this move forward based on statuses and assignee. What makes sense is using a combination of both, because we do understand that it might not be all the stakeholders that are into our build and operate platform. There will need to be a user. So if as a GC, I have my subcontractors added to my projects, I can simply assign the shop drawing request to my electrical subcontractor here, and they will be notified that I'm expecting this specific shop drawing. But with that, the new feature, the attach files, we can now actually, my subcontractor will be able to actually attach a file here. So his shop drawing, he doesn't have to send it by email. You can basically just attach it here very quickly, and we can move forward forward in the process of getting this approved. And once it's completed, I can, and only then I'm going to add it to my documents as a reference for everyone on site. So the attached file right here, we have multiple links here available. I have it in local files here, and pretty sure it's right here. Yeah. So I would expect the subcontractor to add it here. I could also have a complete other file type, which is here. I have my approval form. I wanted that there's another file that I want to attach to it, which will give me context and the whole approval process. So I can add, and you can notice here, this is an Excel spreadsheet. So while Excel are still not supported in the document side of things, it will come though in 2025. But for now, I can still attach those files to my workflow here and can be downloaded, edited, and added, so reattached or added again to my workflows. And we just centralize those processes instead of exchanging multiple emails. So wanting to be respectful of your times, I noticed that we were just past 3 here. So I do see a couple of questions. If you allow me, Crystal, and then we can circle back to the any questions. Would that make sense for you?
Yeah, let me actually answer the questions that I got.
Awesome.
For
yeah, sure.
Yeah, the ones that I got. So I got a lot of requests and questions in regards to the AI for concrete, electrical, masonry, and plumbing trades. So currently we don't have AI available for those specific trades. Like I said, if I show my screen again, the AI currently will provide you with doors. So that means single door, double doors. So the count of the doors, the square footage for the rooms, and for the windows, the count of windows that you have, and then exterior and interior walls. We do have under development AI for electrical trades, and for concrete is just not quite ready for launching. So definitely keep an eye open for those features, because we are working really hard. It's just not quite there for us to have release it yet, but we are experimenting. We're working on it really hard. The other thing is that we what you can use currently is our auto count feature. So for those electricals and plumbing and even window trades, if there's you need to count something, we do have an auto count. The way that it works is that you're going to be able to click on count and give it a name. So if it's a light fixture, if it's a sink, if it's a toilet, you go ahead and give it your name, right? So in this case, I'm going to do outlet, for example. And then you're going to click on create takeoff. And when you click, I don't know if you guys notice, but currently you're going to be able to change the size of your symbol. And I'll show you here a second. We have more options on sizes of those count symbols. So when I click on create takeoff, I'm going to click on this little magic wand. I'm going to go ahead and trace a square. So click one time, go diagonally. Basically, I'm drawing a square around the image that I want the system to scan on this page and count for me. This does it automatically. You don't have to wait. It's only going to do it on this page. And again, the notifications and the status is going to be found up here. As you can see, it counts those fixtures for me. You can click on the name, change the color, and I wanted to show you that now you can customize the size and click on custom, and you can give it, you can play with the size based on the scale. So if I want this to be 40 inches, I can go ahead and delete that 12 and make it 40 inches. So now it's displaying bigger. Another thing you can use for my plumbers, for my electrical and masonry trades, you know, I'm assuming that you have your drawings. Basically, you want to identify where is calling out those specific materials. So you can actually use the search bar. So to give you an example, in here is calling out a code PT1, acoustic PT is ACT2. This is basically for my masonry. Um, if I search in here ACT-1 and click on search, it will highlight ACT1 for me on the drawing. On the left side, it will tell me how many times I found that word. So I'm translating that's the number of rooms that I have to make sure I measure because they're calling out for that material. And it tells me where they are. At this point, you will create your takeoff and then measure those areas. I did found a good example where I can show you for my windows. A lot of the times they give you a window schedule. You go through your drawings, you're counting your windows, but you don't quite find a specific window. So that window has a number and you're going to be able to go to that drawing and type in that number, click on search, and it will tell you where it is. I know a lot of people waste time looking for a specific window, and you don't want to be under budget or over counting a window. So definitely when you're doing your checking your measurements, the search tool can help you with this. So, and these two features are available for all users, so definitely make this available, guys. I hope this helps with those questions that I got in. I did have another questions in regards to the accounting code. So accounting codes cannot be added to assembly. Accounting codes are added to the item. So when you go into your library and you create your item, let me go into a library here. You give the name of your item or your material, your equipment, or the labor, the cost you're trying to track. Give the coverage rate, and down here under the section of cost type is where you're going to be able to select what type of cost it is, if it's a labor or a material. Feel free to add your own custom cost types under your account settings, and then here right next to the price you're going to be able to add your accounting code. And I think I cover all my questions, Bruno.
We did have one that came in the last few minutes, asking if there's a shortcut to move from previous page to next page. So more on the navigation side to go from one plan to the other versus and the whole back and forth.
Yeah, of course. So we currently don't have a way for you to go back to the previous page that you have. What I do have available for you is that you can flip from page to page. So to give you an example, let me open this project. So we have two things, right? So let's say I'm on this page and I want to go to the next page. You do have arrows up here up top where you can flip through the pages in order. The other thing is that if I go to my plans and I open pages, those pages will be open up here up top. So if you want to go to the previous page I had open, that page will be already opening here. If this gets too big, you also have a drop down where you can go and navigate through your pages. So when we're talking about pages navigation, you can also use the back button, to be honest. This will also help you. So let me see. Let me double check. My internet is kind of slow, but okay, maybe that doesn't work. But the tabs up here and then the drop down will be your best friend when it comes to plan navigation.
Sounds good. Thank you, Crystal.
No problem.
So before wrapping this up, thank you very much for your questions, for your attention. Um, so a smaller reminder before letting you go. You will receive an email with the recording. As always, chat is available, training is available. If there's anything that you caught on, but might need something more specific to your trade, for example, or that you would like to learn more about. And we will see you next month for our next Stack Live. Again, thank you, Crystal.
My pleasure.
And
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your
of course,
attention today. I hope this helped. Please give me some love and chat in the chat feature. Let me know which one was your favorite feature. You could do it on your Stack account or you could do it through here. We love your comment and your feedback. And if there's a tool that you use or a tip you would like to share, send it over. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much, guys. You guys have a wonderful day and happy 2025.